My weary dears, my darlings, my loves, I am here today to talk to you about a brief snapshot of Anti-Synthetase Syndrome a decade on. If you're new or you haven't been here in a while, I am Annette of AnnetteLeonard.com, and this is the Chronic Wellness Podcast, where we talk about what it's like to live with illness and have a bent toward wholeness. And so thank you for being with me today. I have a complex autoimmune disorder called Anti-Synthetase Syndrome, and it affects everything in my body, from my muscles and bone to my skin, my mixed connective tissue to my internal organs. And the way the journey began for me was twofold. The first thing that started happening is that I started to lose the use of my hands. And it was characterized by intense pain and bizarre and inexplicable swelling. And the swelling was so pronounced that all of my fingers began cracking and peeling, and I lost the use of my hands in almost every practical way. They were just sort of like clubs at the end of my arms. I couldn't tie a shoe. I could barely wipe myself. I certainly couldn't text. And the magnitude of the loss was driven home one day when I was home alone in my bedroom and couldn't open the doorknob to release myself from the bedroom. So I was trapped in there because of how profoundly my hands were impacted. And shortly after that symptom began, I started experiencing pain in my large muscle groups, so my thighs, my shoulders, my back, my upper arms, that soon really became weakness in those same muscle groups. So for example, I was in the shower and I was having a difficult time raising my arms over my head to wash my hair, which I had been living with chronic Epstein-Barr at that point, so I knew something about fatigue, but the inability to lift my arms above my shoulder height was all new. And so I've chronicled bits of this journey here on this podcast, but the thing that came next was lung disease. It is a form of pulmonary fibrosis where your lungs turn themselves into scar tissue. And it was a decade ago last month that I got listed for a double lung transplant, a sobering and difficult journey in and of itself. And I am rolling with factory parts. I am talking to you with my own lungs. And there have been parts of this journey where I was using so much oxygen. And when I was listed a decade ago, part of what they do when they put you on a UNOS transplant list, or at least they did at the time, was that they give you a specific number of, this is part of their ranking system, so that it's a dynamic list of who is ranked where, so that they can prioritize who gets organs when. They give you a number of days they think that you are predicted to live. And I have far outstripped that predicted expiration date. And my journey continues, right? To live with balancing what it is to have an autoimmune disease that has no less than 5 or 6 other autoimmune diseases under its umbrella. So managing each one of those, and each one of those diseases is or can be relapsing, remitting. The disease is rare enough that drug makers are not going to make enough money on those of us with the disease, that there are very many specific drug trials or drugs made specifically for these illnesses. By and large, we are benefiting from the big autoimmune diseases and seeing which meds also work for us or have worked for us, that work for folks with rheumatoid arthritis or for Crohn's or other autoimmune diseases that are much more common. And I have failed on many of the drugs and failed spectacularly. You know, in some cases I get aseptic meningitis, or my digestive tract just fails out from underneath me. And so when there are just a very limited range of meds, I have a much smaller subset even in that limited range. And still, my quality of life today is greater than it has been at some points along this journey. And part of what I mean to say about this journey 10 years hence, and if you're still watching this video, I presume that you or someone in your life has this terrible cluster, is that there are ways to find improvements. There are ways to hit your stride, and they are not predictable. They are not guaranteed. They are not necessarily even stable once you find them. And it is worth learning a lot. It is worth advocating for yourself. It is worth seeking out the very best care that you can. And it's hard. It's very hard. It's exhausting. It's overwhelming. It's difficult when there are so few of us, and our rheumatologists may be reading the same journal articles we are. I live in Eugene, Oregon, and our population base in the greater metro area is like 450, 500,000 people. And at my rheumatology clinic, I am still the only anti-synthetase patient that my doc of now more than a decade has ever treated with my illness. And so that just gives you a clue into the fact that he doesn't have piles of experience. He's not, saying, well, this worked for 6 of my other patients, it could maybe work for you. And by virtue of getting listed on the lung transplant list, I do have access to rheumatologists who are treating other people with my illness. And that has been game-changing. So reach out. If you know somebody with this illness, please send this to them. If you have questions about what's worked for me, please comment. I read my comments, or go to my website and book a time to talk to me. We live in far too connected an age to suffer alone with this. So I'm glad to be back with you. I have some very exciting things in store. If you have things you want to hear from me about or talk about on this channel, reach out. And until we're together again, I'm so, so grateful for you. And I hope that you are finding ways to be well.